Okay, hello and welcome to my Mirror Dungeon speedrun guide. So you could take this as a guide to quickly clear Mirror Dungeon 3, hard or normal, or just take it as a way to clear in general. I'll just be going over the strategies I use and the optimizations I make, so hopefully anyone can learn from this. So we're going to start with the Starlight. What we need is we're going to want this for tier 3, everyone should usually have this, and you'll want to grab the Bleed node, since this is going to very heavily revolve around Bleed. So next one you want to get the starting ego gifts, and we want to make sure we have the bleed as well. And then the next one we need to make sure we have this sub node here for 2 new bleed ego gifts, because we need one of them to make Bloody Mist. And then the last one you're going to make sure you have to have is this starting ego gift choice. And anything else is not necessary for this, but is nice to have since they all provide a bunch of buffs. But once you have those few Starlight nodes, all we're going to do is once we're going to start, I'm going to use hard for this as an example, but this applies to normal as well, it's just a little bit different. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to re-roll your shop until you see smoke and wires and rusted muzzle. You want to always start with both of them, then make sure you start with both. And once you refresh it, if you don't see this, all you're going to do is you're going to click this, you're going to click halt exploration, and you're going to click forfeit, and then you're going to exit it and just do it again and keep repeating until you see both of them. I'd heavily recommend that you do wait till you get both parts, because if you just start with smoke and wires without this, you're not going to be able to get it at the end of floor 1, and you might just not get this other one to begin with, and your entire run's going to suffer for it. So it usually takes about a minute or two to reroll for this, but trust me, the time it takes you to reroll saves you so much time compared to the time it takes without Bloody Mist. So we're just going to start. So we have this, and I'll explain the team real quick. So this team's going to revolve around 6 main damage, and everyone else being support passives. First, we're going to have Ahab Ishmael, we're going to have Pequod Heathcliff, we're going to have Pequod Isang, because these guys all have bleed, as well as poise, which is right. Actually, most every unit here has bleed and poise. And the next two are going to be Pirate Greg, and we're going to have BL Faust, and all these guys are basically here for is all of their skills have bleed, or unique bleed, and all of them have poise, but it's most important that every single skill of them has bleed, so they all work with Mist, but they also all count for Pouch as well, which can be a little bit important, but it's not as core. And then the 6 damage unit we're going to be using is Hook Hong Lu, since all of his skills just do all scale off bleed, and they have great damage. You can also use Ting Tang, but the main problem he has is this, his main skill does not do bleed. This doesn't count for Mist, so unfortunately he's just not really worth bringing, but he's good if you don't have this and you want a support passive, since the support passive is one of the best. And he can pass the effigy check, which this is the main issue of this team comp, is no one here can pass the effigy check, so if you get that one, you kind of just have to take the L, you can't get it. That's the only problem. So now that I explained the main damages, I'll explain the 6 support passives here. So Raja is here because her support passive is just basically 20% more damage for your highest HP or most HP. So this will almost always be on Q-Cliff. The next ones are going to be based on, this gives most SP, which is important here, more pierce damage. Otis's is going to be more damage to low HP. This is going to be on most SP as well, which is important. Mexiclair is going to be most SP for more damage. This does work against abnormalities. Abnormalities have 0 fixed SP, so you can have more sanity than them. So this does work. And then the last one is going to be, the last 2 are going to be Chef Ryoshu. This is the most optional one, but this is basically a mini lithograph, so it's a little bit of healing, so this is pretty nice to have. Other options could be KK Ryo, since she can give bleed to lowest speed, highest speed, but it's not too useful, so I'd recommend her. And if you don't have anyone else, she actually works pretty well. The only sad part is this does not have bleed, so it doesn't work with Mist, but these 2 skills do, and she's still a good option. But we're not going to field her since we just have better options. And then the last one that's actually one of the most important here is going to be Middle Marcel. And this is going to be important because this support passive right here is huge. Since Ahab Ishmael can have sanity issues, especially if she's not last hitting, this will basically ensure that she's always 45 sanity. So this basically helps her stay consistent with your SP buffs, which you want to go on her, as well as just keeping her sanity up, since this does work, since you have 3 of the Pequod here, so it does work. Alternative options, you can go Blade Lineage Mentor, but I don't recommend this since none of his skills have bleed, except to claim their bones, but it's a little bit he'll fall behind, especially because we're starting Mist. So this is going to be primarily Mist, but if we can get Pouch, we want to get it as well. But the only other alternative I'd recommend is going to be Enfaust, since she's extremely replaceable. These two are basically the same value. I just value BL Faust a little bit more since her S1 is extremely powerful with Mist. This basically goes up to a 3+5 3 coin, which is insane. So these two are very interchangeable. Bring whichever one you like, since they both do benefit from Mist. Nails got changed to Unique Bleed too, so all of her skills work with Mist now, which is really nice. So these two are interchangeable. Otherwise, I'd recommend running those 6 DPS. So let's get into this, start, and I'll go over kind of how I approach combat. So, as I said before, the only main issue here is going to be the fact of you're not going to be able to pass the effigy check, but that's not a huge issue. So in general, when you're approaching MD3 hard, you usually want to take whatever has the most options or whatever is just quickest, really, since you want to get through this quick, right? So what I'd recommend is when you're doing this, don't actually hit win rate if you care enough to put attention into it. This is because when you do win rate, your skills are gonna pick your skill 3s. And when you pick a skill 3, I'll show you what happens here. It's gonna pick a skill 3 and it's gonna stall the timer really bad, which is just gonna cause a focus. So if you can avoid it, you don't want to be using your skill 3s if you don't have to, basically. It just speeds up combat a lot, since no one will cause a focus. So if you really don't care, you can win rate. I'm just saying this is a little bit more optimal, since we get to avoid using skill 3s. But obviously, if it's detrimental to not use a skill 3, you might want to consider it, but for the sake of animation time, it's nice to avoid using skill 3s or pressing win rate, because it will pick your skill 3s. So usually early on, you can get through it pretty quickly, so you don't have to worry about that too much. But yeah, that's a little nice thing you can do, is trying to optimize your time. So events, kind of just memorizing where's which and just picking the fastest option and just getting through them as soon as possible. That just comes with like experience. So there's not much to say there. So just gonna kind of speed through this. And another thing you kind of get used for is making sure you not pick skill 3s. It's not like it's a huge issue if you do, it's just can cause a little bit of a stall, which can be a little bit annoying. It can just make you lose a little bit of time, since obviously we're trying to get through this quickly, so the time it takes for manual can usually outweigh the time that a skill 3 focus causes. But sometimes you don't have a choice, and if you don't have a choice, then there's not much you can do about it, and don't worry too much. Especially on the later floors, it can be almost requisite to do it. But if there's only like 1 or 2 enemies left, don't be afraid to just press the win rate button, because it doesn't really matter at that point. You'll end it really quickly. Alright. So once you get here, we're just gonna fuse our ego gift, we're gonna make our mist, and now the run just basically became free. We've basically hit full power and we cleave everything. Point to start real quick, make sure Ahab-ish is always on 1. I'd recommend this order of skill slots, these two being 1 and 2 are kind of the most important. And the reason for this is, it's called skill slot priority. So basically, as Sinners gain bonus moves, they're going to be given in the order, I just want to explain this, so I win rated. This is why right here, this causes it to happen, but I want to explain this. But basically, when Sinners gain extra move slots, it's going to be given in the order of priority. So turn 2, my Ishmael will get a 2nd slot before anyone else, and then it will go to Heathcliff, and then so on. There's also another implication behind this, which is actually very important, is that support passives, if they are tied for a target, they will go to the highest priority. So in this case, if we have all of our passives are going to the highest SP, if we have 2 or 3 different allies that are all 45 sanity, it's going to pick whoever has the lowest number. And another thing I should point out there is when you're picking buffs, you usually almost always want to pick for the buff, not for the ego gift, unless outside of very rare cases. So when you're at your shops, always grab this ego gift. This ego gift is amazing in MD3 hard. I'd always recommend it. Contract's good, but I don't want it too early. I don't care about too much of this stuff. Always grab wrist guards, because if you get lightning rod or gloves, it's great. Oh, this isn't bad to get early too, because you can always profit and then sell it later. Lithograph, this is grabbing lithograph, it's all the healing you need and it doesn't troll you too hard. I've seen useless, yep. So I'm just gonna solve this, and I'm just gonna grab a skill 3, since he has a great skill 3. Usually prioritize whoever your strongest damage dealers are, but if you have Starlight, you can buy a lot more than if you don't. So if you don't have a lot of that Starlight, you can get a lot less at the shop, but it's kind of a lot about value. Yeah, this is what happens when you do that. It's just gonna cause its focus, and it can lose a little bit of time. But the nice thing is, in these early floors, you're gonna win so quickly that even if you do that, it doesn't really matter that much. Since we're just basically gonna obliterate everything. Might even win in one turn sometimes. And then if there's like one or two enemies, don't be afraid to just P-enter it. Since it's gonna end so quickly, it doesn't matter too much. So yeah, just remember this is gonna be bleed over poise, but you should be grabbing your really good poise gifts if you can get them. There's not really too many bleed gifts you want to grab too much. There's the main bleed gift you want to be grabbing is going to be Wound Clarid, which is gonna make you bleed on hit. This is mostly just useful for Ishmael's S3, which can easily get 2 coin power for free by existing pretty much. So a lot of this you can kind of get a feel for as you do a lot. You'll just kind of get used to going through the motions for it. But the main things is really just don't always win rate, especially in the later floors. Win rate can pretty much get you killed if you're not careful. Especially when you don't just win every clash automatically, and you might have to be a little bit careful. The other thing I should say is I'd pretty much always avoid going for abnormality fights, since all of the attacks are one at a time, so it's pretty slow. But that being said, don't be afraid to. Oh, right, speedrun guide. And then we get this Ken counter. This is a great example of how to make a run take longer. So when you do these, you don't need to overkill them. Just make sure you do enough damage to proc the event, but you don't need to murder them. Because you're just going to be beating a 1 HP target at that point, and it's going to waste a lot of animation time. This is basically the worst possible case. I really fucking wish they'd remove the stamina counter from the game. It's obnoxious, but whatever. You basically just need to just kind of be good at knowing how much you need to do without like doing too much damage. They did make this a lot better now, since it does give you the event earlier than before, but it's still just obnoxious. That's whatever. It's still pretty quick with this team. Just make sure you don't need to do a billion damage overkill, because that's just going to waste animation time. So thankfully they did just make a skill a lot faster now. Yeah, you only need like one skill and then just kind of chill. Don't win rate either, because win rate will probably stack all your skills on one target, so just be careful of that. Even now I'm probably doing too many skills. Way overkilled, but it's okay. And then you just kind of got to get used to spamming through these damn no's. This encounter used to be way slower, but thankfully they fixed it to be faster. You can win rate this, just be careful that sometimes you might not get a clash because they're too fast. But I think I did miss one of them, and one of them's gonna attack, unfortunately. Yeah, this is whatever. It does die though, so fine. This accounts a little bit. This is definitely like the worst. This is unironically the hardest encounter in the game because it takes like 4 turns minimum, I think now. Like it's literally takes harder. It's longer and fat and it's longer and harder than the floor 5 for 4 bosses because you just can't kill them. This is the best buff to get here. This buff's also fine. These two are fine. These are both good. Unfortunately, this doesn't work turn 1, so I'm gonna prioritize this one more since this is it's just more damage with poise. I'm gonna see what I have. I don't really know what I have. Yeah, always, even if you're not running charge, always do this. It's always worth upgrading risk guards. Because in the off chance that you do you get lightning rod, you basically just, everyone gets 3 damage up, which is insane. So always upgrade risk guards. So we have Jun here. So typically Jun's a big problem, but fortunately, we don't really care because we're missed. We just don't really care. We're gonna murder all his friends and allies. They're just gonna fall over dead before he does anything threatening, basically. Usually Jun can be a major problem, but it's only turn 2 on the counter turn that you really have to be careful of your targeting here. Like, this might be a little bit of a problem. He didn't use his counter, so it's pretty free to just attack. So typically Jun could be a huge problem to a lot of runs because his counter will just murder you if you're not ready. But against this, you can basically just pretty much win rate it. As much as I say don't win rate, screw this encounter. We're only on floor, what? We're on, what, floor 3 now, so we're not too concerned. Jun becomes way more threatening on floor 4, and especially on floor 5. Like, he's a major threat on floor 5. Oops, I fucked up. That's bad. I was not looking. Okay, that's a case where I should have evaded. I was not paying attention, then I just totally threw. Oops. Yeah, that should never happen. That's just an oopsies. I just threw. I was not paying attention to that. Oops. Oopsies. Oh, this is, well, it's going, you know what, I'm not even edit it. No, it made an oopsies. As much as I said it's not threatening, sometimes that can happen, basically, where you just, oops. That happens. That could have been mitigated by, I should point this out, defensive clash canceling. So basically, what I should have been doing there was making sure that clash never happened to begin with. He's usually staggered by that point too, so that's pretty unusual to happen, especially if he doesn't counter turn 2. And if he does, you kind of need to be careful in this. As much as I said he's not a threat, I don't really want her getting hit by this. This is actually probably fine. This might be bad, but sometimes you just need to be careful. As long as the allies die before she attacks, it's not a problem. She won't get hit very hard. So as much as I said Jun isn't a problem, this is ironic, but yeah, she shouldn't take too much damage here. If so, then I'm deleting this video from existence. Yeah, she doesn't take too much. I don't really care too much. As long as she doesn't die. Yeah, I don't really care, so. I just need to make sure she doesn't attack because she'll literally kill herself. Yeah. I just need to kind of be careful here that I didn't get trolled. If I get trolled here, then oops, I'm bad at this game. I need him to get attacked. Please stagger him, thank you. Yeah, fine. Yeah, sometimes this can happen, even in the strongest team comp in the game, sometimes this can happen. Like, he's usually not a threat, that's just an unfortunate case of I wasn't paying attention, especially when I'm recording this. But that's the fun of doing it live, you get to see even sometimes the best can struggle with stupid shit. So, I cannot pass the top one, so I have to go for the bottom one. Yeah, just know in this team comp, nobody can pass the top check except for Otis, but she's not 45 sanity, so don't bother. Basically, since we're not running Blade Lineage anyways, we're just gonna sell that for free money anyways, so you might as well just get a free tier 4. And this is kind of why I like having Lithograph, since now Ishmael will basically heal the full for free for existing. But the thing is, too, if you don't get Lithograph, if you have Chef Ryoshu, she'll basically do that for you, just that a little bit slower. So that's why I recommend her support passive for this. Yeah, it happens. Sometimes even the best people get skill issued by Jun. I was not paying attention. That's why I said sometimes be really careful in harder encounters, because that can happen. It's also Jun specific, but just be really careful. Like, that was very preventable if I was paying attention, but it's whatever. This is probably gonna be way slower than normal too, because I'm kind of taking my time to explain everything, and I'm not like, going out of my way to super speedrun since I kind of want this to be useful. Yeah, one of the main S3s you just want to avoid is very much Yisang's S3 because it doesn't really do much, and it has a really long animation, so there's some S3s you definitely want to avoid more than others. Like, Heathcliff isn't bad, Ishmael's isn't bad, but some of them you do want to avoid. Because even if you have to take an extra turn, the fact that you're not getting a 3 stalling just saves you a lot of time. And another thing you can do too is if someone has multiple slots, you can make them guard on one so they don't. This game doesn't wait for them to attack twice. But I'll probably be able to find a better example of that later, but that one's not super relevant. It's just sometimes if an ally is attacking twice, everyone has to wait for them to go twice, which can be annoying, but that one's a lot more fringe compared to everything else. So this is one of the best Ego gifts to get. It's just great free damage, and this is going to be Papa Bongi because it's Pierce Lust. Or no, is it Papa Bongi? I think it is, right? Oh wait, no, this is Fish. Never mind. Oops. Alright, see, sometimes I even forget. This one, don't worry, I would just go Unga Bunga and just do this. The one thing you can do, this is the one time like almost every easy go, is just for this. Just because it hits a lot of fatal parts, so I almost will never recommend using Ego because it's usually not worth it, but this is one of the rare encounters where it's actually a pretty good idea, since you're going to hit all the parts that are basically all weak to Sloth. So, one of the few times I'll use Ego, because this will do a lot. This can be pretty difficult to one turn as well if you don't have like a super optimal. If you don't get amazing Ego gifts, this can be very difficult to one turn. Just because it has so much health, it's pretty difficult to one turn. That's basically the main reason. Just has a lot of HP. Yeah, this is what I mean right here. I mean, I could grab this. This is the better buff, but I want to get Lightning Rod because I have Risk Guards. Since this basically just gives my entire team 3 damage up permanently, it's so much value. You always want to get Nebulizer. Always grab this. I'd recommend. Best Poise Gift. Carmilla is really good. Just grab it. Just makes your life easier, especially floor 5. On this one, these two are... I don't recommend this one. It's a waste. This one's not bad, but eh. Always grab Ishmael skills. It's the best. I would ignore that. I would avoid this one for a reason I'll explain in a bit. Always grab this. This is like the best one to get. This is so good on this team. Alright. So, I'll actually explain why I said I don't recommend grabbing the phlebotomy pack. So, this is a little bit of a weird case, but I'll actually explain this. So, let's see. So, I'll explain this. So, when we have Lithograph doesn't heal if an ally... So, instead of checking max health, it's going to check current health. So, if Heathcliff has 160 health, but another ally has 161 max HP like this, what's gonna happen is it's gonna heal the 160 HP instead of him, since he's just gonna have less health. So what that means is Heathcliff has a passive that scales off missing HP. So if he's missing HP and he can't heal because it's not targeting him, you're basically just getting a little bit of free damage from this passive, which is pretty nice. So basically it just keeps him missing about like a quarter of his health without healing him. And if you grab another Ego Gift, it can kind of ruin that. Now you can say that's negligible, and when you have so much damage up, it is. So I don't recommend, you can do this or not, going for elite encounters, because they give you a lot of cost and a guaranteed Ego Gift. I probably don't recommend going for Jun unless you're clinically insane like I am, but the nice part about this is, once we have a bit of Ego Gift going, Jun becomes way easier. Like, if you can kill his allies really early, you can have a good time. Or this can happen because we get a 1 in 20, unfortunately. But typically, Jun becomes way less of a problem if you kill his allies pretty quickly. This should do a lot too. Yeah, and the Sticky Musk is really good. So now we're just hoping our first skill is either going to stagger Jun or we're going to kill him quick enough. So we're going to see what's going where. You need to be really careful with this. Yeah, see, this is going to go here, and I don't really want him to get hit by this because he'll just get obliterated, so I'm actually going to cancel this clash. I don't really care if Heathcliff gets hit, so I'm actually going to do it like this. So the reason why I'm doing this is so he doesn't clash, because if he's going to win the clash and then hit him, and he's basically just going to get obliterated, so that's why I'm doing this, because now that clash won't happen. Though, you could argue that I killed the allies, so it's not a huge issue, but still, I'm going to be safe about it. He gets hit anyways, unfortunately. Yeah. But the nice part was that all the allies died, so sometimes it can be difficult to make like perfect calculations in the middle of it, but the general idea is if by Yisang clashed Jun and did damage, he would just get fucking murdered by the counter. That would be 4 coins that he's doubly fatal to, so that was my reasoning behind that choice. So sometimes you calculate a little bit off, but whatever. So I said usually avoid these unless they're forced, just because it takes a while. And you can actually win rate these. Funnily enough, you can just win rate these, because win rate in these fights is actually pretty good. Like, it's genuinely pretty good, surprisingly. And you don't have to worry about skill 3s, too, because it's gonna focus no matter what, so... I would actually recommend win rating these fights if you can. Just makes your life easier on these. And then, but when there's a few enemies left, you're actually gonna have to manual it, because otherwise the game is gonna do really stupid things and just be dumb, so... Don't press win rate when there's less enemies alive, only when there's a bunch of clashes available. Because the game's actually pretty smart when there's a bunch of clashes and abnos, but if you press it now, it's basically going to stack all your attacks on like one enemy, and you don't want that to happen, so... The start of it, feel free to win rate. It's usually actually pretty good, and then... once there's a few enemies left, definitely don't win rate. Oops. Sometimes even I get lazy and I just win rate, but yeah. The nice part is, compared to other teams, your skill 3s do so much damage to the point of like, it's not as much of a detriment to use them since they do so much damage. They're probably gonna kill them anyways, but if you put the conscious effort to avoid them, it's probably still better if you can get away with it. But yeah. If you really want to be like extremely quick and optimal, it's better to just manual. But depends on how much effort you want to put into it. Sometimes even I get lazy on it. Pierce Gloom. This is either Fox or Centipede. Or actually, I think this would be KQE too, right? I think there's 3 that are Pierce Gloom. Okay, it's Fox. Oh, Fox actually dies really quickly, usually. So against Fox, you're just gonna stack all your attacks against the head, basically. You're pretty much just gonna murder the head. In this case, I'm actually gonna do this just to make life a little bit easier. So something we can actually do here, if we don't want to hit the other part, we can do this. So now it's gonna target the other umbrella, and we're gonna go back to attacking the head. Except I canceled it, so... it's a little manipulation you can do. Just a little bit of a manipulation you can do here. But I don't want this hitting, so... whatever. Do it like that. Can do it like this, I guess. You know, like this will make life easier. Actually, shouldn't matter. It should get staggered first anyways, but... you'll do way more damage too once you actually hit the stagger bar too. I use Sun Shower here just because he drew 2 skill 1s, and this will actually save some animation time because it's gonna kill everything. That's all I need to do. We're just gonna... actually, you can just press damage here. We don't need to worry too much about... it. Just press damage. Splendid. Big numbers, my beloved. You can't even see the screen. Splendid. So that's how you're gonna be your approach to basically every single abnormality fight. Is pick the weakest part and beat the shit out of it. Then this one you really... okay, unfortunately here, there's really no good options here. These are all pretty bad. This is probably the worst one. For me, at least. This one's probably the least detrimental. I don't care too much about final power, honestly. Yeah. Unfortunately, you usually want to take overload or coin power, but unfortunately I got neither, so a little bit of oops, but whatever. Grab another skill 3. Let's see, anything good? Always grab this. And always grab 4-leaf clover in case you get the other part. I don't know if I have horseshoe. Oh, I have it now. So now I have guaranteed. So coin is usually one of the best Yuga gifts, but in this comp, you actually don't want coin. Like, you just don't want it. What I'm gonna do here is I'm actually gonna sell my... This is useless now. I'm gonna do it and grab this, just because this is actually pretty nice in certain fights. But yeah, coin typically is one of the... I'll show you floor 5 Jun here. And why this encounter could be really dumb, but it's not that bad if you know what you're doing. It's not that bad if you know what you're doing, but you need to be careful, because this fight can be pretty brutal at times. This is probably the by far the hardest encounter in the game to get. So, floor 5 Elite Jun, this can be probably pretty brutal, but the nice part is with this team comp, you can usually make it somewhat trivial. And if the thing is too, if you can't win a clash, just use a defensive. Even if you have to tank it, it doesn't really matter. The thing is that you're not going to feed them sanity, so even if you lose the clash, you're not going to take a fuck ton of damage. Or you're at least going to mitigate something. Or in the very least, you're not going to give them sanity for winning the clash. So, that's why I recommend that. So, now you'll see where the bullshit begins, which is going to be right after starts, and you're going to see exactly why this encounter is utter BS. So here, if we have a little counting exercise, we have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 moves, right? We have 8 moves here. So they have 2, 4, 6, 8, 11. So now we have 11 moves versus 6 moves, and you might say, wow, that's really unfair, and it is. Especially when he starts with his counter on turn 1. So basically, we have to be really fucking careful that we don't kill ourselves on this counter here. We have to be really fucking careful. So we have to be really careful. Thankfully, nobody is attacking him, so this isn't a huge deal, because we're literally so outmoved we don't even get the chance to hit him, which is actually a good thing here. But the problem is, someone's probably going to end up hitting him anyways, because we're going to kill something, probably. But the nice part is, if we kill things really quickly, his counter is going to... Alright, and here's the skill issue I was talking about. I had the correct calculations. Unfortunately, Ahab decided we're gonna kill Heathcliff. Yep, that's the problem. Yep, that's what happens. I mean, that's really a skill issue. I mean, nobody was attacking Jun, that was a good thing, and unfortunately Heathcliff used the command attack from Ahab and she just died. Unfortunately, that is how it goes in this encounter. So it's usually not a huge issue, but I think it's actually good that I kind of show what can happen in this, so... Hello? Fucking raid boss evade, what the hell? Yeah, I think it's good to show what can happen and why you actually need to pay attention sometimes. It can be pretty important to pay attention. Because like there, I made every calculation I needed to make. Unfortunately, the game basically just decided to say, nah, I'm gonna assist attack Jun, which is basically instant suicide. Even for a tank like Heathcliff, unfortunately. So that's usually not a big deal. And I know this guy now has 2 Jun fails, but one of them I could have prevented. That one, you could argue I could have done something, but I'm not like, I'm not a robot AI, so... So now we're gonna have the same situation here, except it's gonna be way worse, because now we're actually gonna have someone who attacks Jun. So we have to be really careful of what's going on here. So we have Faust attacking. What's Faust's resistance? She's resistant to Slash. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to want to make her resistant to Envy as well. So I'm actually going to do this. This seems really stupid, and it might seem stupid, but trust me, let me cook. Now we're going to do this too, because we don't want him dying. 2/3 chance. And she's going to actually eat the counter, so this isn't a huge deal. So assuming everything went well, Faust should attack the counter. Though, if this happens again, I'm literally ending the video, but... Actually, wait, never mind. She's not using them. So the nice part is she's probably gonna kill all the allies, so he won't actually his counter won't be a threat, fortunately for me. So even when you're at such a move disadvantage, if you just kill the allies, the counter's not much of a threat. But if you do have to worry about the counter, you can just make sure you're tanking it with someone who's very resistant. So in this case, I was able to make Faust very resistant. She's gonna eat the counter, and she shouldn't take that much, hopefully. Especially since the allies are dead, she should only be taking, like... She'll get staggered, probably, but... Yeah, she won't take much damage, which is what I wanted, so... That's what I cared about. And then I'm doing this just so he doesn't lose a clash, which would be really bad. And now we should stagger him, or... Stagger shit. And now we just need to be careful this turn. So now we're gonna say whoever attacks first is gonna eat this counter, but fortunately we don't really care because it's not a huge threat. I'm just gonna actually clash cancel every clash here because I'm faster. I don't want to risk any of these clash losing. So I'm gonna do that strategy I said earlier, and I just don't want these clashes to happen. So I'm just gonna make sure we only go unopposed, basically. And this is, I guess, even though this is supposed to be a speedrunning guide, this is also how to deal with Jun guide. And if you don't have Mist and you're doing this shit, good luck. Shit sucks. It's not fun. So as much as this is supposed to be a speedrun guide, it's also a how to deal with Jun guide. And the correct answer is really don't take the Jun encounters, but I'm psychotic, so I do it anyways because I like to have fun with my gifts, so... Don't take this run as like a perfect example of a speedrun, but more so just take it as like an outline for it, really. Maybe I'll upload a run or something where I do like an actual speedrun, but we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, if you're ever struggling with Jun, just know even the best players in the game can struggle with it. Now, obviously, the buffs I've chosen have basically not helped a lot, but considering if there's no Blade Lineage event anymore, this becomes way less of a problem because Jun just gets deleted from existence, so that's nice. So you can just do this, just don't worry too much. That's what I mean by don't worry. Once you're into later floors too, don't worry about win rating too much because win rate is probably your friend only because you have to be really careful with your targets. Or you're basically gonna usually have to use your strongest skill. Like you're not just gonna clash win everything with S1 and S2 now. So win rate is usually helpful, but don't just like win rate and then do nothing. You want to win rate and make sure your clashes are still like not suicide. Especially if you want to cancel a clash or ignore a clash or what have you. Why did he heal so much? I have to have some kind of ego gift. It's whatever. Oh my god, so oh I have homeward, that's why he's healing. Okay. Makes sense. Don't say no to ego gifts though. They're even if you don't want it, like White Goth, you just sell it. Who cares? Just sell it. Yeah. This ironically went from a how to speedrun MD to how to deal with Jun. But this is genuinely just how I do it. Don't take this run as a good example of how to speedrun. Take it more as a example of the outline for it. I'm giving you all the tools to do it, even if the example itself is not splendid.
기름도 나오지 않는 놈이구려. 개체에게 일격을 가하는데 성공했습니다. 샴페인을 가져오기엔 너무 이른 타이밍이긴 하겠지만 이 전투가 성공적으로 끝나면 모두 희생을 드리며 축배를 드는 것도 나쁘지 않겠죠. 보았나? 적은 이렇게 진리가졌다. 우리의 확고한 승리가 눈앞에 있다. 담겨있지.
That's what I mean by don't just immediately assume you're gonna have everything. Sometimes you might want to just not take a neutral clash, but it really depends on the situation. And don't always trust the clash outcome. Sometimes it can be very misleading. Because the game only looks at the first clash outcome, it doesn't look at the total outcome, so... Always take the game for a grain of salt. especially negative coins. It's terrible with negative coins. Because again, it only looks at the first outcome.
가는데 성공했습니다. 샴페인을 가져오기엔 너무 이른 타이밍이긴 하겠지만 이 전투가 성공적으로 끝나면
And I guess for the for priority on your panels, I would typically prioritize normal encounters over focused, but like depending on the floor. The nice part about focus encounters is they give way more. They give a lot of. They give 80 cost, I believe. It's 80 cost. That goes up to 88 with Starlight. And then they also give a guaranteed ego gift. So if you like to, have a little bit of fun in your runs and get really good ego gifts, taking elite encounters can actually be pretty beneficial there. But if you're just trying to clear it, then don't do that. Especially don't take the Jund nodes. Those will kill your run if you don't know what you're doing. Especially if you're going to take Jund nodes, don't be afraid to restart, because there's no cost. 2 buttons. It's your best friend, trust me. Like, if someone randomly dies, don't just take it, just give up and restart. Just my advice there. I just don't like you saying the 3. It takes so long and barely does any damage.
적은 이렇게 진리해졌다. 우리의 확고한 승리가 눈앞에 있다.
귀찮게 끌지 마. 빨리 해치우고 그냥 가죠. 가까워진다. 항해.
Is there anything else I didn't explain? I think I explained most of what I do, so it's good. Yeah, as of right now, it's actually MD is a lot harder because of the Blade Lineage nodes, so keep that in mind. It'll get a lot easier once these nodes go away. So, but really, you can just kind of avoid Jund like the plague if you're not out of your mind. There's any good. NDA, this Seeker gift sucks, don't buy it. And then what you can usually do is, you don't have to do this, but I like to kind of sell everything I have that's not useful to me, so I can just upgrade everything. So I kind of just sell the stuff that I can't really do anything with. That basically just doesn't directly buff my damage, so I have enough to upgrade everything after. Like here. Actually could have grabbed Pendant there, but whatever. So I want to make sure I fuse this. And if you can get this by floor 3, it's a very nice buff to have, but if you can't, it's whatever. Always upgrade Nebulizer first, it's one of the best. Always upgrade this first. Bloody Gadget's one of the best ego gifts in the game. This effect is stupid for a tier 1 gift. You don't need to upgrade this, it's a waste. I don't recommend upgrading this, it's kind of not great. It's misleading, it's not that good. But I had a lot of leftover costs, but whatever. So, what you're gonna do is, you just pick a boss that you want to have a really bad day. Like, you want to kill a big guy with a sword, go here. If you want to beat the shit out of a fucking clam, we're just gonna go here, and this is Shrimply Fantastic. I think this is the clam, right? Oh, this is MFE, my bad. I have actually not seen MFE a single time. Alright, you know what? We're gonna beat the fuck out of a statue instead, okay? You know what? Fuck the statue, we're gonna beat the shit out of it. So what you can do, you can ignore this protection. This is a lie. Ignore this. This shit is a lie. Who gives a shit? Ignore it. Alright, so you see this bitch here? She's dead. Okay? She's dead. Let's see. Do I have any other damage dealing? I could probably just explode him. We're gonna do this. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, I'm so confident this is just gonna insta-kill her. I'm just gonna do this. So we're gonna do... Unfortunately, she missed a coin, which sucks, but whatever. The reason why we're doing damage is because the way this game calculates damage is really dumb, but I'm not gonna go into that. It's for another time. Yeah, these allies are so nerfed, they have so little health. I missed a clash. I trolled, I missed a clash, no! Oh well, doesn't matter. Yeah, you can basically just murder the allies now. They kind of nerfed the shit out of it. Let's see. I could just. I probably don't even need this much. This is probably overkill, but whatever. So now we're just gonna beat the shit out of this stupid statue.
구멍을 내주지.
And the reason why we're doing so much damage is because how the game calculates. Even though there's 10 protection, we have so much dynamic modifiers, we're basically offsetting the protection. So it's barely doing anything. Which is what? This is just delicious. Unfortunately, because I trolled turn 1, we're not gonna get a 2-turn kill here, but oh well. Sucks, but oh well.
개체에게 일격을 가하는데 성공했습니다.
내가 시범을 보이지.
샴페인을 가져오기엔 너무 이른 타이밍이긴 하겠지만
Well, welcome to even I make a lot of mistakes sometimes, so that's just genuinely how I go about clearing an MD3. Maybe take a little bit less tuning counters if you don't want to. I don't recommend it, I'm just crazy. But that's how I typically go about it, so if you watch this, my condolences, but I hope you learned something, I guess, and good luck with your MD3 grind.